Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do like a really quick video because I want to do like a series of pretty quick video. At least they will start off as quick videos, but then we're going to end up talking a lot more detail about what's going on, and that's going to be about the prologues. So we have, Cosmere Book 5 coming Cosmere Book 5, God. Stormlight Book 5 coming up in December. So I want to of course start my coverage for that and leading up to the release of that book in December, and we can theorize and do all the fun stuff. So first thing I want to do is start to hyper analyze the prologues. So the majority of the fun information for the prologues come from book 4 and 5. So we're going to just kind of quickly talk about the first three, but I think we're going to do this as three separate videos. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the prologue for the Way of Kings. So yeah, spoilers for the Way of Kings and pretty much anything that's potentially connected to it. So pretty much all Stormlight stuff. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with that. First, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and check out the Patreon if you're interested in some early access. And yeah, other fun little bits like reactions and whatnot. So yeah, let's go ahead and begin. All right, so the Way of Kings. So the Way of Kings prologue is of course one of the more famous ones because it starts off the whole thing and it's just like very significant. So a lot of what happens that night that the prologue covers revolves around Gavilar, revolves around what he's doing and what his secrets are. But we also, of course, the other end of that entire spectrum of conversation is, of course, his assassination, which is what we start off with in the Way of Kings. We start off in Szeth's point of view. So, as far as we can tell, it just starts off with him walking. So, as far as we know, as far as the context that we later get in the different prologues, it starts off in the moment that Khalad / the Five gives Szeth his order to go and kill King Gavilar after Venli basically tells them that he's trying to bring back their gods. So it's kind of fascinating that he gets the order to assassinate Gavilar the night of, but they kind of it's late. We'll talk about it later in the other prologues, but it's kind of fascinating to me that he gets the order to assassinate Gavilar the night of the feast, and he is already wearing white. So it describes in that POV, Szeth basically says that it's a traditional assassin outfit to wear from the Parshendi culture, from the listener culture, because if you're going to assassinate someone, then you should be seen, basically. White to be bold and to not blend in with the night and all this kind of stuff. So it implies that he came to the feast with the singers, but already wearing white before they had any plan to actually enact any sort of assassination. So that's something I always thought was fascinating. And it's never been like clearly explained or anything. I don't know if it's like a Brandon continuity mess up or something, or if it's just the entire context of the way Khalad got access to Szeth. Was he already wearing white and it just so happens to be, within their traditions and stuff? I don't really know. So we'll talk about that when we get to the later prologue that goes into greater detail on that. But it's pretty interesting, some of the things that we just completely bypassed, because we knew nothing in the early days of the early books, of course. So as it's described, Szeth is like walking through the party and he notices Elhokar is basically leading the feast because Gavilar has since retired like some time ago. So he sees that Elhokar is basically, pontificating from the high table, but he sees that he's having a conversation with these two people, one that looks like an Alethi and the other looks Makabaki, and one has a crescent moon, pale skin birthmark on his face. So we basically immediately know from later given context that this is Nail and Kalek. So it's very interesting that Elhokar is having a conversation with them. I'm wondering if they just went up to him and asked, like, where's Gavilar? Can they see Gavilar? But why would they ask the crown prince? Why would the heir be the one they would ask that to? Granted, I feel like they themselves, because they, basically ignore decorum and like all that kind of stuff. But it's very interesting to me that somebody wouldn't have run up to them and like, figured out who they were looking for and stuff. So it's fascinating that they were having a conversation with Elhokar. So that might not have been the conversation. Maybe it was a different conversation. Maybe they were just curious about Gavilar's kid or something. I don't know. But I find it fascinating that they were talking to Elhokar at all, because I can't come up with any real reason why they would be interested in talking to him. So this idea of them having a conversation with Elhokar, I'm like, what did they talk about? Like, so So it's like interesting. But that's just one of basic Zeth's observations. And basically, he notices too that Dalinar is drunk and he's like passed out and stuff. And not even passed out, he's like drunkenly talking about the drums and stuff and just having fun with the Parshendi. Because we kind of get hints in multiple prologues that Dalinar had like a fondness for the Parshendi, for the listeners, then called Parshendi or whatever. Like, so he basically had just a lot of, he was having fun. He was drunk as hell, but he was like, having fun, being very jovial and stuff with them and everything. So he kind of notices that. And he makes a mention of the fact that Yasna is missing, the king's daughter. And it's fascinating to me that he would know anything about Yasna, because my read on the situation is he just got sold off to the listeners, and then they basically brought him here. So he would know, well, maybe he knows in general, because just as a Shin who like knows about honor blades and all this stuff, I imagine they're fairly aware of what's going on in the East and stuff. So maybe he just has general knowledge. So maybe that's why he kind of mentions the fact that Yasna is nowhere to be seen and stuff. I'm not sure, but I do find that kind of fascinating. So he kind of makes mention of Yasna not being around and Dalinar being drunk and Elhokar talking to two heralds. But then he also runs into who we knew or know at the time is Ahu, who is actually Yezrien. He kind of runs into him and just kind of dismisses him as a drunk. But that's fascinating, because I would imagine that Zeth would have been able to kind of, I don't know, because I think in Shin they probably have some of the more accurate depictions of the heralds. So I find it interesting that he didn't recognize him, but he also didn't recognize Nail. So I guess they don't have particularly accurate depictions of the heralds. They just know a bit more about them than most of the rest of the world does. So, okay. So, but it's fascinating that just in the first couple minutes, like just Zeth walking through the party, he runs, it's three heralds immediately. And then he notices that the image of, I think, is it Ash? I think, yeah, of Ash is like gone. And he's like, oh, it's weird, because King Gavilar is known to be quite devout in his Vorin worship. And he's missing, a sculpture or a painting of one of the heralds. That's because she was also there that night. And part of her insanity is that she can't stand any depiction or any, iconography of worship directed towards them. So she destroys it at every chance she gets. So she's already destroyed the thing that Zeth was looking at. So just in the first few sentences of the prologue, there's just so many things that's already happening. And it's just so fascinating the way in which it was told in this just perfectly nonchalant way, that it's just chock full of stuff that we had no way in which we could have ever recognized any of it at the time. So I just love the way in which it's written. It's just a lot of fun. And then we continue that, and then we start to kind of get into the action of it, where Zeth leaves that area and then goes into the hall, and just he's basically starting to go look for Gavilar and stuff. And then we have the entire battle. The way in which Brandon uses this scene in order to immediately explain the magic and the way in which it's being used in the context of this magic, I thought was brilliant. Because we obviously, first time reading, have no idea of the magic. We don't know anything about this world or anything. So having this character use a magic system that's completely unfamiliar to the rest of the characters allows him in his own head to basically exposition dump and explain what he's doing and why they're confused by it. So therefore, it's explaining to us what he's doing, how it works, and then it's also adding story exposition onto there, because we learn that these powers have been gone from the world, and now that they're back, it's like weird and random, so we don't know. So we're learning how it works, we're learning the different terminology, all while it's being used and crafted in this very, very cool, concise kind of action scene. It's just one of my favorite pieces of writing by Brandon. I think it's really, really well done. And then on top of that, we kind of get great exposition and understanding of like shard plate and shard blades and everything, learning about a shard bearer, and then just the idea of Sadeas taking Gavilar and disguising himself as Gavilar as a decoy to try to run off and leave Gavilar in his shard plate so that he can, be dismissed as a guard or whatever. I thought that entire structure of trying to save Gavilar was so brilliant, because it would have worked in any situation. other than somebody as smart as Zeth, because Zeth has basically studied the plate and like the reputations and stuff of the Alethi. So he knows that Gavilar is a badass sword fighter and stuff, and he knows that he's a shard bearer and stuff, and that he knows that, like they say, that few people can best Gavilar Kholin with the blade and stuff. So he has all the context that he needs to figure out that it was Gavilar in the suit. So it's just almost sad when you kind of realize, because like, dang, he almost won and stuff. But then later on, when we get context more for who Gavilar really was, you're like, oh, okay, it's fine that he's dead. Like, it's just a lot of fun. I just really love the way in which this first prologue is told. There's a lot of interesting little details we get in there. And then we get the mention of the two spheres after he lashes the balcony down and smashes down, and Gavilar is on his way to die. He's on his way out. And we get mention of these strangely glowing spheres that he has. We have no context for what a strange glowing sphere is. We don't even know what a regularly glowing sphere looks like at this point. I mean, we kind of do because they've mentioned it, but still, like, we don't have the context and stuff needed to even be amazed by that idea. So it's just really, really interesting. And then we get immediate name drops of stuff. We get Thetacar, which no idea who that was while first reading, no idea what the significance of that is at all. But it's interesting in context of knowing more of the prologues. Thetacar is Kelsier, who is the leader of the Ghost Bloods, who definitely wants something that Gavilar is trying to keep from him. So therefore, it would be an obvious potential suspect for trying to kill him, for sending an assassin after him. So I love that was his first thought. And then you can tell it goes from the highest severity, the most likely person that would send someone, all the way down to the least likely. So he like, Gavilar? I mean, he's like, Thetacar? No, it's not Thetacar. It's like, Ristaris? Like, why would it be Ristaris? Because we know that Ristaris is Kalak, and Kalak is the one that Thetacar wants. So maybe Kalak found out that Gavilar was trying to manipulate him and use him or whatever, so had him killed. So he like, maybe that's the second person on his list. Less likely, but still there's a potential possibility that he would have him assassinated. And they're like, no, not him. And then they're like, well, who? Sadius? Which is like even more unlikely, because Sadius at this point basically hero worship Gavilar. But given the way the Light Eyes are incredibly petty and all the High Princes are always squabbling over power and stuff, he could totally see that maybe it would be Sadius and stuff. So he just kind of went down the line of severity. And I just love that, because even without context, you can kind of feel like most likely, not likely, but maybe, and then not likely at all. Like, I just love the way that was done. I just really like the scene entirely. And then the way we kind of get a mention of Yasna having been witness to it and stuff, like that kind of adds extra context. I really, really like the way this first prologue came together, because this is what really hooked me onto the story. And when I try to like push Stormlight and Cosmere and stuff onto other people, I try to get them to listen to this prologue, this one, or the preface, the 10,000 years ago, the Recreant stuff, like that stuff, because that to me, like that, just the not knowing anything but how interesting it was is what hooked me. And apparently it does the opposite for a lot of people. If you start off a book and you're just completely lost and confused, apparently it discourages people from continuing. I was very surprised when I found that out. But yeah, it has the exact opposite effect on me. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. What do you all think of the Way of Kings Prologue? Do you think it's like some of the best written prologue and the best way to start a huge epic series like this, the way I do? Let me know your opinions about it in the comments down below. And next time, of course, we'll talk about the prologue for Words of Radiance. So as always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and check out the Patreon. The link is in the description below if you're interested in reactions and extras and whatnot. So yeah, with that being said, I will talk to y'all next time. Peace.